Hey there, Nocturnes! Welcome back to English Me, dito sa Nocturnal Sage, a guide for those left in the dark. Ako nga pala ulit si Kuya N, ang iyong class president. Noong nakaraang meeting ni Sir Jeremy, diniscuss niya ang tungkol sa anong approach ulit yun? The biographical approach. Yung naging example niya si Albert Camus, nakita natin na sa pamamagitan ng biographical criticism or approach, makikita natin yung connection between the author's life at saka ng kanyang gawa. So, mas maiintindihan natin pa yung pinapanood o binabasa kapag alam natin yung konteksto kung saan ginawa o binuo yung obra or piece. So, kuwari si Albert Camus, nabuhay siya sa panahon na nawala na siya ng tatay. Yung namatay yung tatay niya during World War I, tapos hindi niya nakilala. Yung naging inspiration niya para bumuo ng mga characters na hindi rin alam kung sino-sino ba yung ninuno nila, kung anong lahi ba talaga nila. Kaya nag-contribute yun sa kanyang belief system na ang tawag ay absurdism. Ngayon naman, ang approach natin ay tungkol sa sa utak. Yung talagang as in, yung organic, yung mechanical na utak. Ngayon ay magpo-focus tayo sa kung papaano naapektuhan tayo bilang mga mambabasa o manonood tuwing pinapanood natin o binabasa yung paborito nating obra o hindi paborito. Kaya paborito man o hindi, mayroong epekto yun sa utak natin. So samahan nyo na ako sa ating klase ngayon with Sir Jeremy para manaman natin kung paano gamitin ang cognitive scientific approach. Oh English me, oh English me, gusto kong matuto ng Ingles pero hindi alam kung paano.
Good evening, class. For tonight, we shall discuss the cognitive scientific approach. Now, what does that mean? It's an approach that we use to study the reader's experience with the text using neurological evidence. Meaning to say, we now focus on the reader. In the past few sessions, we've been paying our attention to the writer's biographical story and the text itself, the content, the form, etc. But now we shall look into the mind of the reader. How does the reader respond to the text? But since it's cognitive scientific, we shall focus on psychological theories from time to time. It's a relatively new phenomenon. That's why you will not hear me state any theorist name, but simply observations that we can call from the excerpts that I've put here on Zeitboard. And these excerpts come from The First Man by Albert Camus. It's a novel written by Albert Camus, the last that has been published, but it's not considered finished. It's, if you asked Camus if he were alive, he would tell you that it's merely a draft and not yet ready for publication, but because he died suddenly, one of his family members published the story. Now, we will study The First Man by Albert Camus using the cognitive scientific approach. So this is how to write a reaction paper on this novel using the aforementioned paradigm. 1. The arousal of sense impressions. Based on this text, and Brilliant, who since waking had been coming and going in silence, trained to control his delight so as not to awaken anyone, but who was breathing his feverishness on every object within his reach, would now rear up against his master, pause on his chest, and try by stretching his back and neck to give the beloved face a good strong licking. So what sensation does that arouse in you? The sensation of being licked by? Which animal do you think this is based on the description? Yes, it reminds you of a dog. So that's what we mean by the arousal of sense impressions. So using the cognitive scientific approach, text could also make you recall, could activate parts of the brain responsible for your sense of sight, sense of hearing, taste, and smell, and even touch. depending on which word is used. So, for example, the word licking here would arouse your sense of touch. Next, invitation to reflect. He looked back on his life, a life that had been foolish, courageous, cowardly, willful, and always straining toward that goal which he knew nothing about. By reading this, you would be reminded of your own faculty for reminiscing. Clearly here, the character is doing just that. So using the cognitive scientific approach, we would think about the human capacity for memories. And perhaps the writer, the critic, could comment about the role of the hippocampus in reading. Maybe the hippocampus expands in size the more words one accumulates. So that's very scientific, very neurological indeed. And last observation is textual rape. Now, what is textual rape? It means that you are wrapped in a certain range of emotions that you could not explain why you're feeling them. You know, you're not the one being bullied, you're not the victim, but you feel as if that you are, because the one that you're reading or watching makes you feel so. You have no other choice but to feel that way because of the fact that you've read or seen that particular scene. He attacked first, not very confidently, forcing Munoz to retreat. Munoz backed up with confusion, clumsily parrying his antagonist's fists, then landed a painful blow on Jack's cheek that aroused a blind rage in him, intensified by the shouts, the laughter, the encouragement of the crowd. So it's a fight scene. How would you feel if two boys fought in front of you? Maybe it would be anger because you would be forced to step in and stop them from fighting if you are in the position of a responsible adult. But let's say if you were a kid just like them and then you hated one of the characters, you would of course demonstrate sympathy for one of them. And that is why you would feel angry by watching it. That is textual rape, being made to feel what the characters are feeling in that particular part of the show or reading. And if we want to make it cognitively scientifically sounding, you could say that there's a hormone for aggression, testosterone, yes. When you read passages like this, your testosterone levels increase and you feel like punching someone like that. You get stressed also. So that's it for the cognitive scientific approach. Continue surviving in the dark for the next one.
Oh English me, oh English me, gusto kong matuto ng Ingles pero hindi alam kung paano. Sino ang magtuturo? Gusto kong matuto na talaga. Oh English me. Word of the night. Delusive. Adjective. Ang first three na makakapag-comment sa baba ng meaning at ang kanyang original sentence ay magkakaroon ng special mention sa susunod na episode. Kaya ano pa hinihintay nyo, Nocturnes? Mag-comment na kayo sa baba bago mag-Friday para masama sa editing ng inyong posts. Kung nagustuhan ninyo ang episode na ito, paki-like naman dyan sa baba. Tapos kung may mga katanungan o suggestion kayo, mag-comment na lang din. I-share nyo naman ang video na to. Mas maganda nga yung buong playlist sa mga kakilala ninyong nag-take ngayon ng AYAP. Alam niyo naman sa panahon ngayon, kanya-kanya ng diskarte sa paghahanap na reliable reference materials at kasama na doon ang Nocturnal Sage. Mag-join din kayo sa ating private Facebook group, The Nocturne Space, yung link nasa baba, upang magkaroon kayo ng outlet para sa mga bagay na mga bagay na gusto niyo pag-usapan pero hindi niyo kayang ungkatin sa mga ordinaryong conversations niyo kasi yung mga gusto niyo pag-usapan ay hindi naman interesado yung mga pangkaraniwang mga taong inyo nakakahalubilo. Kaya nga extraordinary topics huwag kayo mag-expect na ma-appreciate yun ng mga ordinaryong folks. Kasi tayong mga tumatangkilik sa nocturnal sage ay hindi mga extraordinaryo, kundi tayo ay mahilig magmasid ng mga ideya na kadalasan ay nalilibutan na ng ating lipunan dahil naputol na o unti-unti nang namamatay, kinikitil na ng buhay yung kakayahang mag-isip ng mga tao sa ngayon dahil sa sobrang o labis na pagtangkilik ng mga popular na bagay. Kaya at least sa nocturnal stage, mananatili kayong gising. At higit sa lahat, mag-subscribe kayo para wala kayong mamimiss na update. New episodes every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Ang nocturnal stage ay nakatuon sa 4 na bagay. Ang una ay self-conquest. Kung ikaw ay may pinagdaraan ng negative emotions kagaya ng depression or anger, o kaya gusto mong lumakas, gusto mong mag-improve, pwedeng physically, tama-tama na pinili mo ang nocturnal sage. Pero wala kaming psychiatric advice na ibibigay, yung mismong medical advice na mag-take ka ng ganitong pill para mas makapag-focus ka. Labas kami doon, tutulungan ka lang namin kung paano i-process manually through introspection yung nararamdaman mo na hindi nakakasakit na iba. Pangalawa ay communication. Kung gusto mong matutunan paano, let's say, i-overcome ang stage fright o yung kaba tuwing magsasalita sa harapan ng madla, pwede kaming gumawa ng oral playlist, oral communication in context para sa'yo. Pangatlo ay leadership. Kung ikaw ay bagong halal na student council officer o kaya ikaw ay isang professional na bagong promote sa trabaho at gusto mong malaman kung paano humawak ng tao, maging epektibo sa iyong ginagawa. Kasi hindi naman biro ang humawak ng mga tao at kumausap sa mahirap kausap. Tamang-tama na nag-tune in ka sa nocturnal sage. For today is your Jeremy and leadership and management. At pang-apat ay expansion. Kung gusto mong makahanap ng activity o gawain na magbibigay sa iyo ng lifelong fulfillment or satisfaction, yung magiging masaya ka talaga na kahit hindi ganun kataas yung sinasweldo o sinasahod, kahit napapagod ka na, kahit may mga gabi na hindi ka matutulog, ipagpapatuloy mo pa rin kung hinahanap mo yung ganung klaseng buhay. Tuturuan ka namin, bibigyan ka namin ng tips at tutulungan ka namin i-explore yung mga skill sets na dapat mong taglayin. Yung skill sets na hindi siguro karamihan ay hindi naturo sa school, pero matututunan mo dito sa nocturnal sage kasi as personalize siya para sa'yo. Yung mga skills na hindi natuturo masyado sa school kasi yung school system ngayon, yung educational curriculum, ginawa yan para sa interest ng mga kapitalista. Alam niyo naman, di ba, yung mga 21st century skills, sino ba ang nagtatakda nun? Yung mga employers ng mga companies, ito yung hinaharap naming skills. Pero ikaw, yung ba talaga yung skills na kailangan mo para maging masaya? Pwedeng mga iba doon kailangan mo, pero karamihan, ibang skills yung dapat para sa'yo. Kaya sa expansion na part, matutulungan ka namin para i-discover yung mga yun. Salamat sa panonood! Ako muli si Kuya N. Kita-kits sa susunod na episode ng English Made dito sa Nocturnal Sage, a guide for those left in the dark.